All right, guys, as promised, this is part two of filing tax return for yourself. This scenario is a single person who has one dependent, which is a child, who is also claiming child care expenses and trying to get the earned income credit. Alrighty, so I cheated a little bit and I did pre-fill in some of the information just to kind of make this video go smooth and not take forever. I will not be going through any of the relevant screens that you will not have to fill out, as I want this to be simple for those of you who are or who has children or a child and is just filing their W-2 form. Okay, no businesses, no 1099s. You're not a homeowner. You don't have any property. You have not been or paid any stock this year. None of that. Just being an awesome parent. Alrighty, so this is the first screen that you're going to see, and you're going to import any of your financial data if you use any QuickBooks or any of that information, but this will be no for this particular tutorial. Um, Also, this is going to be the screen you look at to make sure you have all of the necessary information in hand in order to fill out or complete your tax return on your own. If you were a part of the service, you're going to click that button there. If you have any questions about the question that they're asking, you can hit learn more and it'll give you more details about how to answer the question. And on most parts of the tax return, you will see that in this software. Alrighty, if you want to get more information as to how the tax reform has impacted your 2019 tax, you can read this information. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and go to the next screen here. Alrighty, so if you are a single person with one or several dependents, you are able to claim head of household. Okay. And I say able to claim is because it actually is kind of a privilege. You get a little bit more of a tax break and can claim certain credits like the earned income credit and so forth that you wouldn't be able to do if you were filing just single. Okay, if you have any question as to whether or not you are able or what category to file in, you can always hit guide me and it'll give you more details on how you should file. Alrighty, for this particular tutorial, you are head of household, you are single, you are not married, and you have a dependent or two. Okay, and just side note, if you are married and your spouse does not work, that spouse is then considered a dependent and you can then file also head of household. However, if you are married and both parties are working, you do have to file married filing jointly. Okay, just a side note. All right, moving on to the next. Alrighty, so I went ahead and put in this information. When you get to the personal information screen, you are going to enter your information here, making sure that you are accurate in putting in your social security number with the proper numbers. Otherwise, the return will be rejected. Making sure your date of birth is correct, address, and so forth. Okie dokie. And of course, this information is not real. I have made it up for, except my name, of course, for the purposes of this tutorial. Alrighty, and we're going to go ahead and hit next. Alrighty. If your state requires you to file a state return, you will enter that information here. For the sake of this tutorial, I will not be going over state tax returns. It is fairly simple, and who knows, I may end up adding a part 3 and showing you guys how to do your state filing as well. But for this, we're going to move on to the next. Alrighty, here it wants you to verify your social security number and date of birth. Make sure that it is accurate and hit next. Alrighty, again, we're going to hit skip because we are not doing local and state tax and so forth. All right, so it wants you to tell the software about yourself. Are you a full-time student? I can be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return. For the sake of this tutorial, none of this stuff applies to you. If you have any questions, again, you can hit the Learn More button, and it will give you the details as to how to answer those questions. And hopefully I'm not talking too fast for you guys. I just don't want this video to be super long. Like my part one was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. Alrighty, so here is where you're going to start putting in your information about your dependent, and the software is going to make sure that you qualify to be able to file head of household. Alrighty. So it will tell you to qualify as head of household. It will give you some guidelines. And then you go down to who's your qualifying person. For this scenario, you have a dependent. That's going to be your child. Alrighty. Were you married? No, you were not married at the end of 2019. Alrighty. And so I have already entered this information. However, you would hit add a dependent, and you will put in the information of the dependent. It will ask you relationship. Is this your son, daughter, stepchild, adopted child? What's your relation to this particular child? Please do not put parent because it's asking what that child, how that child is related to you, and that child is not your parent. Okay, so that child is either your son, daughter, stepchild, grandchild, and so forth. Okay, so I just want to make sure you guys don't get confused. Do not put parent in this box. Okay, you will not get all the credits that you need, and it will not allow it to process properly. Okay. Alrighty, and then it asks you the living situation. The child lived with you. Note that your child has to have lived with you for 6 months or more in order to claim them as a dependent. Okay, and so then it asks you the time, and that's why I ask you the time that the child lived with you. Okay, you do have to have the child's social security number. So if it's your child, you should have that information, right? Right. All right, moving on to the next. Actually, it's not going to allow me to move on because I didn't fill out anything. So I'm going to go back and delete this line because I only have one child. Alrighty, so I'm going to hit delete. And it will bring me here anyhow, so I'm going to hit finished. Alrighty, we have wages from a job. We don't have any of investment income or so forth. Remember, we are a single parent with one or two or more children, and we're claiming child care expenses, and we have a W-2 only. We don't have a business, no property, or any of that stuff. All right, so I am going to get wages from a job because I do have a W-2 form. Alrighty, and I'm hitting edit because I've already entered this information. However, you can either import from the employer, upload a PDF, or take a picture with your phone of your W-2. However, I am going to enter it manually. There was a time where we could only enter it manually. And normally I would click here, enter manually, and fill out the information. But because I have cheated and filled out the information ahead of time, for simplicity and a smooth tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and hit delete for that line, and I'm going to go into edit so you can see what information I put in. Alrighty, and so this is for my employer. Here's my information that populated in from my personal information I put in earlier. Please note that if your name does not match your W-2, you most definitely need to check this button so that you can then put in the name that matches the W-2. This may happen for several reasons. Maybe you got divorced, or maybe your employer made a mistake and spelled your name wrong, or something to that effect. Okay, that's your address, and now it's time to put in your employer's EIN number, which is the taxpayer number. Okay, it's called an electronic identification number. It starts with 2 digits and it has a hyphen, usually found at the top of your W-2. Then you're going to put in the name of the employer. Please note, don't just automatically put in like McDonald's because you work at McDonald's. Sometimes the company has a different name that they go under. Okay, so make sure you are copying this verbatim from your W-2 form. Okay. So you'll put that information in here. If the name is very long, you can also continue on to the next line, put in the address, and you are ready to move on to your next screen. Alrighty, so here you will put in your information from your W-2. Please note that the corresponding numbers from your W-2 form and this software is exact. So whatever you see on your W-2 form in box 1 is exactly what you're going to put in 1 here. Same if you see whatever you see in box 2, you put in box 2, and so forth and so on. Please note that this system does round, okay? It does not deal in change. However, you're going to enter it exactly the way that you see it on your tax return, okay? Do not round it on your own. The system will do it. If you try to round it on your own, you leave more room for error. Okay, so for instance, if I put in 18652.52, the system is going to round it, but that's fine. I know it's going to do that, but I'm putting in exactly what I see on my tax return, so I don't, or I'm sorry, on my W-2, so I don't make any errors. Okay, and so for the sake of this tax return, we are only going to put in the basic things. However, if your W-2 has something in boxes 12A through 12H, you want to make sure that you put that information in. A lot of times in your box 12A and 12H, you won't necessarily see B, uncalled Medicare tax on tips, or uncalled Social Security, or RRTA. You will sometimes only see the letters. Okay, but whatever letter it is, it corresponds with the wording here. Make sure that you put it in. If you see C in 12A, you need to click this C. Okie dokie. Alrighty. Hopefully that is pretty simple and you understand that part. All right, we're going to go ahead and hit next. Alrighty, so if it is a non-standard W-2, meaning it looks like it was typed on a typewriter, it looks like it might have been altered in any way, you want to make sure you click this box. If you need further explanation, hit the learn more and it'll explain a little bit better. If this is a corrected W-2, generally a corrected W-2, it is checked at the top that it's a corrected W-2. So you're not guessing because the form tells you. Okie doke. All right, moving on to the next, because for this scenario, we don't need to check any of these boxes. Because again, you're what? You are a single parent with one or several children, and you have a standard W-2, and you are claiming child care credit and earned income credit. Okay? Alrighty, so here's where your W-2 information will show up. We are finished with this section, and this is the income section. It tells you at the top what section you're on. You're on federal income tax. Okay, you still have adjustments, deductions, credits, taxes, miscellaneous, and finish to go through. However, we are going to skip to credits now because for the sake of this return, it's simple. We don't own any property or anything of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and click right on over to credits. Now, please note that if you have property, if you have anything else that is not just the W-2 and some dependents, then you need to go through the forms and make sure that you are answering all of the questions that are necessary. Alrighty, so here we are going to start right on to child and dependent care expenses, and we're going to go there. Okay, this includes you or your spouse's expenses. Yes, perfect. All right, and remember you're single, so we're not talking about spouses. Is this a expense for non-dependent? Non-dependent is maybe a parent that you may be taking care of, or something of that nature, and you're paying for a cousin's daycare for their child, and that child is not your dependent. For this, that is a no for you. Okay, next. Alrighty, and so in order to put in the information, you're going to hit add provider. Okie doke. So I'm going to hit add provider, and I'm going to back out. I just wanted to show you that part, this part right here, because I've already pre-filled it in again. So it says describe your care provider. Is your provider a business, a person, or care was provided outside of the U.S.? Okay, so generally speaking, we take our kids to a building daycare, but sometimes we have people who watch our children for us. But for this sake, we are going to be doing business. Okay, because I've entered this information, I'm going to go ahead and hit delete, and I'm going to hit edit. Alrighty, so Again, we're back at the screen. My care provider is a business. Alrighty, so I'm put ABC Daycare. You do need to have their tax ID number. Sometimes businesses won't give you their tax ID number or give you the form that tells you how much you've paid in. So if you don't have that, make sure you check one of these boxes that says my provider refused to give me the EIN number, or if your provider no longer is in business, then you would click that. All right. Um, or if it's a foreign address, but generally speaking, it's within your area, so maybe not necessarily a foreign address. Alrighty, so then we go ahead and put in the address of the business for the child care, and then the amount that you paid. Now, this can be an amount that the daycare provided for you on a sheet, or this can be the amount that you have calculated and you know that you have spent. So I'm putting in $3,200 that I spent for the year in child care expenses, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit next. Alrighty, yep, and this was for Danielle. And I'm just confirming the information here. And voila, there you have it. All right. And so, do you have any additional expenses? No, I do not. Dependent care carryover you used in 2019. I did not have any type of credit. Alrighty, so here it tells you your child independent care credit results. Your child independent care credit was $31. And so that's the amount that I received from this particular credit. And I'm going to hit next. All right, so now we're going into the earned income credit. Now, what qualifies you for the earned income credit? You can hit learn more and see what different scenarios you can get the earned income credit for this tutorial. We're just saying that this is a dependent child. Okay, so we're clicking here, have at least one qualifying child for earned income credit. Hitting next. Are you a qualifying child for another person? No, I am not. I am the only one that pays my bills. And I'm hitting next. First qualifying child, I'm going to go ahead and click Danielle. If you have multiple children, it will take you through that process. All right, how many months did the child live with you? All month long. Oh, I mean, all year long, sorry. Okay, and tell us if another person can claim. There is nobody else that can claim. My baby has been with me all year, and I have a headache from it, but it's okay. I'll at least try to get a little credit over here. If you have another child that you need to add in, you can hit add another child. If you do not, you will hit finish topic. Alrighty, my earned income credit is $3,526. Alrighty, I love it. So, um, as you can see, my return shot up to $5,276. Have you ever been denied credit? No, I have not. I'm super excited. I'm going to be getting a refund, and I feel great. I feel absolutely great. Woo! So, of course, this is all made up information, but it would be nice if my return actually shows this information. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go over to just hit finish. You always want to do your accuracy review to make sure that you don't have any issues that need to be resolved in your return before you try to file. Alrighty, so it tells me I have 0 issues. Please note also, guys, that when you have issues, those are the ones that have to be addressed before you can file. When you have verification, you just need to go and verify the information because the system feels that there's something that is off. But excuse me, verifications does not stop you from from filing your return. Alrighty, and so we're going to go ahead and hit continue and look at the verification issues. I knew it would be the Social Security and um, Medicare or sections because I made up those numbers. And as far as the system is concerned, that doesn't make sense. But because I know better and I know I made up the numbers for this tutorial, I'm just going to move on. Alrighty, so it tells me my breakdown, what my income was, what my taxable income, what my tax payments and credits were, and I'm getting back $5,276. And you just go on with the process. I'm not going to go through the state return, so again, I'm skipping that. It's going to go through the accuracy, verification, analyzing audit risk, and awesome. Great news. You covered all your maximum refund guarantees. And then you're ready to complete your information. It tells me that my audit risk is good, meaning that there's way less of a chance that the IRS is going to ask me for anything or come after me because the information that I put in is accurate. Sometimes, if you have too much information or your income is over a certain bracket or and so forth, you will see that you will be in the yellow or the red for a possible audit risk. Does that mean that you're going to get audited by the IRS? No, but it does tell you that the probability of getting audited is more likely. Alrighty, and then you just continue on to the next screens, guys, and you follow the instructions so that you can get your return and file your federal tax paperwork electronically. I hope that this tutorial has helped you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me any questions down below. I will try my best to answer them to the best of my ability. Again, I know I've said this a gazillion times throughout this tutorial, but you are on this tax return a single person with one or more dependents who is filing earned income and child care credit. I hope this helped you guys. Have a good one.